Welcome to Launch Stories. We're all about connecting and educating Chilliwack's entrepreneurs. And thanks for our sponsors for helping us put this on every month. We've got the Chilliwack Economic Partners and the Chilliwack Innovation Network. Let's hear it for those folks. And a special thanks to Stalo Community Futures through a grant from CIRA, the Canadian Internet Registration Authority, and Rosillo's handy grant writing. We are putting this on. It's amazing. And thanks to our partners for organizing Launch Stories every month. We've got Cowork Chilliwack, Currency Marketing, and Zynem Ventures. And special thanks to Elise McAlpine for running all the AV equipment and recording the show tonight. So you can see her up here in her domain. And yes. So tonight, I did some thinking about this, and we're going to do our best Jimmy Fallon impression and do a talk show, because we've got two incredible guests, and rather than having them talk over each other, because I've already talked to them and they would be doing that, I'm going to do two mini interviews, and then we'll come together for a panel to talk about opportunities within Indigenous entrepreneurship and some of the challenges. And so we'll do that, and so my next slide is to introduce our first guest. So I'm thrilled to introduce Sandra Bonner-Pederson. She's the owner of Bear Image Productions, a video production company established in 2002, located on the Tzeachten First Nation. And please give a warm Launch Stories welcome to Sandra Bonner-Pederson. Come on out. Welcome, welcome. Yes. I'm going to ask you to give a welcome to connect us to the land, and I'll step out of the way.
Aiswail, Ethlot Wilmuk Tilsqui, Talitso Quachiactal. Everyone, my traditional name is Ethlot. My given name is Sandra Bonner-Pederson, and I am from the Tzeachten First Nation. I'm also Stalo from the territory. We are on the unceded lands of the Stalo territory, and I am here to welcome you this evening with my hands up. I am unarmed. No, that is a welcome.
Thank you.
And now I guess I sit.
Yeah, I'll put you in the hot seat.
Okay. Oh, I'll take that off. Okay. Oh my God, Tim, what have you done to me?
Well, I had a partner in crime, Rosillo, actually recruited you. So if we're deflecting blame, it's going in that direction. But I certainly appreciate you being here, and you're going to do just fine.
Okay, here we go.
So, tell me about growing up in Chilliwack.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. I grew up with 7 brothers.
Where are you in the pecking order?
Second to the end.
Okay.
Yeah, Mom decided to have one more, and she had a boy. She should have stopped. I think she was trying for another girl, but, you know, she already had the best. But no. I grew up with 7 brothers, and people think that was rough, but actually, I mean, I really actually did like growing up with 7 brothers, because I know someone who has 5 sisters. Yeah, I don't think I want 5 sisters.
How many washrooms?
You're constantly fighting.
How many washrooms?
Oh my gosh!
Sharing one?
Shared. Did someone tell you this story?
No, I'm just
because we shared one washroom. That is why I get up early every morning. Every morning I am up at about 5 o'clock, because at home I would get up, I would use the washroom first before the boys. I'd have a shower, get all the hot water. I don't know if everybody remembers that, but yes, there used to be hot water tanks that actually would run out of hot water. And I'd be sitting waiting to go to school for about 3-4 hours, but I was good. I was good with that. So I wanted to go in before them.
In what grade or age did you first get the film and video bug?
Oh, well, actually, I was asked to do a program called Rebirth of a Nation. I was in theater. In school, I love theater. I thought that's the way I was going to go with my life. But then I found, I don't know, it just wasn't the way I wanted to go. So people had heard that I was in theater, and I did some stand-up comedy and stuff like that, right? And then I was asked to do this program called Rebirth of a Nation. And I was in front of the camera, and I was interviewing people. That was really hard.
How old were you?
Because he didn't want to talk. Oh, gosh, how old was I? I was probably in my early 20s, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought, you know what, I can do this, but oh my gosh, trying to interview some kids and they didn't want to speak, and then you're like, so, anyways, and you're trying to think of something else to say, and I was like, I was just losing it, right? But yes, but it was very interesting, and then I soon learned that I did not want to be on this side. I wanted to be on that side. So I talked to Verna Leon, who was the one producing the show at the time. I said, how did you get this? How did you do this? How did you, get into the industry where you can produce these videos and stuff? And she told me. So I said, okay, and it was run at the Coquilitza grounds. So I said, okay, I'm going to go get my prerequisites. I'm going to go to BCIT, and I'm going to, become a videographer like you, and I'll come back and help you with the show. She said, okay, perfect. Well, by the time I finished my programming and everything, it just wasn't there anymore.
Got it. And so you went to BCIT, and I did Google searches, tried to base it on the year approximately. So I think this is the BCIT circa early 90s logo. Am I correct?
Yes,
Does it seem familiar?
The early 90s logo, yes.
Okay.
Look at that. It's so beautiful.
So
modern.
Were you commuting from Chilliwack to Burnaby campus?
Actually, I was. I was commuting, and it really was quite the commute.
And that's before it took 2.5 hours now to get to Burnaby.
Oh, it did.
It did.
Again, thank goodness I was already programmed to get up early in the morning. So I'd get up early in the morning, and I would leave bright and early to go to BCIT. I'd leave at about 6 in the morning to be there for my 9 o'clock class, and I'd usually get there just about on time. I know I envied some of the younger people because I was older. Like I was 26, 27 going into this, and they were just coming fresh out of high school. So, they've got their little rooms, and they're staying in rooms with like 4 other girls and stuff like that, right? So I was a little jealous because they could just, go and party and then... So anyways, I drove back and forth. But I did meet one fellow who was driving from Langley, so the two of us would carpool.
And this would have been right in the era where we're going from traditional editing to digital non-linear editing. I'm not trying to date you. I'm just trying to put
I tell you, it was hilarious, though, because when they called them sticks, we literally were carrying sticks. And, like the tripods, and that's what sticks are. Anyways, and you'd carry this tripod. You had the camera base, and then you had to carry the deck, and then you had the 3/4-inch tape, right? And then you had this big cable. And if you didn't have any help, I basically had to do it myself. The journalists, they wouldn't help. Sometimes they would, and I'm like, please, you can see me lugging this crap, right? Stuff, sorry. And so anyways, I'm lugging these sticks, everything. We get this all set up, and the cable itself, you're like, crunching in,
right.
Put it in, and then you got to record it onto this tape. And then she goes, oh, I'm sorry, they don't want to do it here now. We have to move down. And we were in Vancouver, and I just looked at her, I said, are you serious? She was. And I was lighting it too. I had to light it myself. So I undid everything. We went back down there. So I was not happy with this girl.
Wow.
The video turned out really good, but yeah, it was very interesting.
And was that a 2-year diploma program?
Yes, it was. Yeah. I took 2 years prior to that to get some prerequisites because I wasn't a straight A student. No heckling from the audience, please. But in theater, A+ all the time.
Well, and it sounds like it was really a question of passion because you graduated top of your class, so you became an A student.
I did, actually. I was pretty excited about that.
So what were the job prospects at that point? Where would you cast a net?
Well, you see, the nice thing about it was, being one of the older ones in the classroom, I was willing to move. So everyone was trying to find a job in Vancouver, and at that time there really wasn't much. But at first, what was going to happen, I was going to do my practicum in Whitehorse.
Wow.
Yeah, and it would have been so much fun, and I was really excited about it. But that got canceled because CBC was going on strike, and they said it wasn't good having a practicum student here when everybody's losing their jobs or whatever, right? So my second choice was Edmonton, and working at ITV in Edmonton. And
But I'm bumped.
there it is. Recognize
The
that
highest.
logo?
I could find one that was 80 pixels wide. That's it, guys. So,
Yeah, that was ITV in Edmonton, and I was doing a 7-month practicum there, and for a maternity leave. Well, a month. I did my month practicum, and then the maternity leave, they hired me on as a writer producer for news.
okay.
So I did those
What was
little.
ITV? It was basically a local, like a Czech TV, or
Global. They went global,
Okay.
so it is it was
it.
a total, news, different events and stuff like that, right?
Got it.
So with myself, though, I worked in promotions, which I'm so glad because I kind of found my home because I love promotions. Like everybody there was kind of like me.
Did you find that your training at BCIT prepared you, or was it completely new?
Definitely. Oh,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
definitely. The nice thing about BCIT, because I almost went to Ontario to do my studies at the Algonquin School, I think it was
Okay.
called. But there I found out you would have to pick. Do you want to be an editor? Do you want to be a shooter? And you'd have to make the choice. But at BCIT, you did it all. So I think BCIT really helped me a lot because I was able to shoot, I was able to edit. You didn't have to make a decision in the second year.
And was
So I
it
did it all.
primarily geared towards a destination in journalism, or was it more across the board from
Oh, it was
film
even-
production to?
Well, funny story. The first year I applied at BCIT, I applied in the journalism course, but I thought I was applying for broadcast television. So I've got this whole panel of people, and they're asking me, "So who's your favorite newscaster?" And I'm going, "Oh, God, I think it was Walter Cronkite." But I'm going, "I think I'm in the wrong place." And they said, "Yeah, this is journalism. You probably want television." And I went, "Yeah." So the second time I applied, I got into the television broadcasting.
Nice.
And yeah, it was very interesting. I'm sorry, I forgot your question too.
No, I was just wondering, like oftentimes when you graduate, what you learned in school doesn't necessarily apply to your first job, but it sounds like it was pretty parallel, and you learned what you needed to learn, and you quickly learned you didn't want to lug these huge cables.
Oh, definitely. Well, the funny thing is, when I did get a job as a writer producer in promotions for ITV, and then moving that on to Family Channel, I didn't think I was ever going to be a writer producer. I was like, I don't want to write and produce. I want to shoot. I want to edit. But I found out that it's all a part of it. So again, every path that I took led me to where I am today. So, but yeah, so the writing, producing, I still remember my copyright teacher at BCIT. She really liked me. I don't know why teachers liked me, because I was never a great student. But she really kind of took me under her wing, and then as a copyright person, and I was like, oh God, I don't think I can write. But no, it turned out I could write and produce, and yeah.
And how long were you with ITV and then over to Super Channel? That whole era.
So ITV, like I say, I was doing for a lady who was on maternity leave for 7 months. And then when she was coming back, well, she was going to get her job back. But then there was a job in Family Channel as a writer-producer as well. But you do some more of your own offline editing. So, and they were just starting to go linear at that time, because, like I say, when we carried around those great big things, we also had to do tape to tape, which I don't know if anybody in the audience has ever had to do tape to tape, but that really bit the big one, didn't it? Because if you did something and you wanted to change it, oh my God, it was like you had to go in and erase everything and then go, you're in media, right? Like, and then just, and trying to get everything back to where you wanted it to be. And then you'd have to erase that whole thing and then start the edits all over again. Whereas now I can just, oh, I don't like that. Take it out, slide it forward, because that's the linear. And they were just starting to get into that with Family Channel. But what we do is we do what we called our own offline edits. So for Family Channel, I would do promotion for Family Channel. So I would just sit, watch a movie, which was kind of cool, and then you'd have to promote that movie. And then I would sit with an editor in the evening, and he would do the actual edits.
And this was in Edmonton as well.
This was in Edmonton, yeah. That was at Super Channel. Super Channel, Family Channel, right beside Studio Post. I don't know if you ever knew Studio Post.
No, I did not know that Edmonton was a media hub like this.
Yeah. Actually, it was. Well, like, did you ever hear of Studio Post? That's where they used to do the Second City Television.
Right.
And I think it just left just after I got there, but yeah. But it was really neat. Yeah, they had a big stage there and everything.
And what drew you back to Chilliwack?
Oh, my family, of course.
Okay.
I met this man, this guy, and we ended up having a child together. And I wanted my daughter to be brought up around Chilliwack because I am First Nation from the territory, and I've always been drawn to my family. I've always been very close to my family, and I wanted my daughter to know my mother. And I'm glad she did because, unfortunately, my mother's in a facility now and kind of, cheese is slipping off the cracker a little bit. She's got a good sense of humor, believe me. She would laugh at that. But anyways, so I'm glad I brought her back.
So unlike Edmonton, Chilliwack was not known as a media mecca with Super Channel, etc.
No.
We did have a Shaw cable station, and you did, was it volunteer work or part-time?
It was, well, you see, because I did that Rebirth of a Nation through Shaw, so I had met Trevor Broadcliffe and Bruce, I can't think of Bruce's last name, but I met all those guys. And when I was doing the program, Rebirth of a Nation, we, I knew them. So when I came back, I had told them that, I want to get back to using a camera again because I had been, just doing offline editing and writing and producing, and I wanted to learn the camera again. So I volunteered in the beginning, and then they hired me on part-time as an editor. And then I wanted to get into my own business, and that's how it kind of just led into that.
Got it. And so Bear Image Productions was birthed in 2002. I don't know if that's the right word.
All right.
Did you have any, like so many experts and folks like graphic designers or whatever, they are not trained in business. Like, did you have a sense of running a small business and bookkeeping and HR and profits and?
I still don't, but what happened was I had approached, actually was Rosillo's department at that time. It was called, not Snurd. Anyways, Paula Cramner Underhill was working there, and they were doing business loans. So I had this idea that I wanted to start my own business, and actually, thank goodness, my husband, he's a builder and stuff, so he was making it so that I would have a studio and stuff. But anyways, I went in there and I told him, I said, I need about, $30,000. I want to start a business. And then Paula just went, okay. Like thinking, I think you're going to need more than that. But she didn't say anything. She just kind of, okay, what do you need? And I said, well, I just need I've got my eye on this edit suite, and I'm going to get a camera. And she goes, okay. So what about tape? Oh, yeah, right. And now when you want to do your ordering and stuff like that, you're probably going to need a computer and a printer. Oh, yeah. And then it just kept building. And I was like, I never gave all this stuff thought. Like, all I wanted to do was have my camera and my edit suite, and just figured I could start my business. But anyways, I soon learned that, it's going to take a little bit more than that. But the nice thing is she helped me with a kick-ass business plan, and I received a lot of grants because it was something new, and it was something, because of the technology. I did receive a lot of grants for my business, and I was really happy about that.
And right out of the gate, you were specializing in Indigenous filmmaking.
That's what I wanted to do. And you see, and then it came full circle, because back when we did the Rebirth of a Nation, that's what I always wanted to do, was start another First Nation program. I did for a while. It was called Bear Tracks. So now I just produce a lot of videos for our people.
So you can see a picture up there. Is that some of your early crew that you were working with?
Yes. That's Jason Forsyth. He was our graphic artist. Dana and Brandy were right there from day one. Dana came fresh out of high school. She's a lot older now. But anyways, and then my cousin Kathy, she was my bookkeeper. She kind of worked for a sandwich for a while. But she, because she's my cousin, right? But actually, it's all family, except for Jason. Jason was from Seabird Island, but.
And you touched on it, but you had a program called Bear Tracks.
Yes,
and
Bear Tracks.
It aired on
On Shaw Cable. We produce
What
a
was
show
this
every
show?
year. This show?
Yeah.
Bear Tracks? It just depended on what we were shooting that week. Like, if we were shooting a First Nation event, then I'd say, hey, do you guys want me to do a little show for you? And I'd just do it for nothing and just give them a little piece, and then they'd put it on this Bear Tracks. And so it was kind of like, like, because I produce documentaries and stuff, or corporate videos. So from those corporate videos, I would just take a little piece of it and make a show out of it. Mm-hmm. And it was nice because that's how, like, Dana and Brandy learned too, right? Because I just give them these smaller projects to do. And because Dana, she had some background when she first came to me, but she basically learned, through Bear Image. And Brandy came from Burger King, so there you go.
Okay.
But now I have another niece working for me, Jamie.
Right.
And she is doing awesome, so yeah.
From a marketing and promotion and growth standpoint, what was your strategy? Was it all word of mouth? Were you consciously doing cold calling, or how did you build?
The lucky thing is that I am from this area. Mm-hmm. I do know, I never realized how many people I knew until I walked down the street, and I'm pretty well related to everybody. Like, it is really wild. Like, I went out with friends of ours one weekend, and they said, we've made a bet that you're going to meet at least 10 people you know. They'd make a bet. So it was 12 that night, but hey. But I always bump into somebody I knew, and it's only because of what I did for a living, for school, for whatever. And then I'm also from the territory. Mm-hmm. And people were looking for a First Nation videographer to come in, because I was never brought up around my culture. But in this industry now, I've learned more about my culture than I ever knew, because my mother married a white man. And back then, when you married a white man, you were no longer Indian, which was really bizarro. But that's just the way the world was. So, anyways, so I was never brought up around my culture. We weren't allowed to be living on the reserve. So, but I hung out with a lot of my First Nation friends.
And so it sounds like you did some pro bono or free projects, but you were starting to get the opportunity. How did you learn to bid on a project? Do it through an RFP, or saying this will be a $10,000 video project or a $20,000 video project? Like, did anybody guide you in that?
Yeah, this is where my cousin who works for a sandwich came in, because she's a finance person. So she, her and I sat down and hashed out a template right away. Okay, what do you do in a video production? So I still work off that template today, and I just, put up the costs as, the cost of living goes up. But I just put it in. I just go, okay, how much would a day of production or meetings be to go to a meeting? Okay, you put that in. Okay, how much for a camera for the day? You put that in. So we made a whole template. We just sat there one night at her place, drinking some wine, and going over this whole, template. So then I was able to just put it into this format, and then it would give me my costs. Mm-hmm. And yeah, because it was not something that I knew how to do. So I soon learned that I couldn't do it on my own, is what happened too, because I thought I could, I went in with that, I only need $30,000. But, I also went in thinking I could shoot, I can edit, I can produce, I can write, I can do everything. But then I found out, no, I don't really know how to do budgets. And it sure would be nice to have, other people helping me carry the gear around and stuff like that. So I actually did get some funding, what do you call it now, where you get some money, but then you pay as well. What's it called? A grant? Not a grant. I don't know. When they subsidize. I got subsidized wage through SNRD at the time, through Stella Nation.
Okay.
And that's how I was able to hire Dana and Brandy. And then Kathy started working for money.
Let's just pause for a second, because I think renaming it from SNRD to Community Futures was a really good idea.
Well, you know the acronym thing. Yes. Yeah. Oh, anyways.
Fair enough.
All right. What'd you do to me, Tim? No, but yeah, that's what we called it, right? Yeah. Yeah, a SASA.
Got it. Well, yeah, and it sounds like it's the entrepreneur's journey. You figure it out as you go.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And it's sooner or later, you have to have more income than you have expenses. And it sounds like over time that became a reality. And you had support of some resources that helped along the way. Much of your work has been telling Indigenous stories out on location and really bringing that to light. And I think that's incredible. What have you learned along the way? You mentioned that you didn't have that deep of an understanding of your culture, but I imagine this has given you a front row seat.
It really has. I mean, I got to say, though, even with Rebirth of a Nation, I was discovering stories that I had no idea about. And then doing this, I mean, when you say what I've learned...
well, put it this way. Tell me about one of your favorite projects.
Oh, one of my favorite projects? Oh, geez. That's a really hard one. I mean, I think doing the one on residential school, because my mother is a residential school survivor, and I never knew the stories. Mother never shared that with us when we were young, ever. It just wasn't something that I even knew about. As I got older, she started telling me more and more, because they started discovering more and more that these residential schools happened, and they happened right here in Chilliwack. Actually, the one that you have on display there, when we talked to those three fellas, it was unbelievable to think that can happen right here. And to me, that was, a huge eye-opener. And then watching my mother talk, who always jokes all the time, and I've got the camera pointed at her. I'm zooming in on her because, I got to get close-ups of my mother. And then she starts telling this horrific story, and she started crying. And, sorry, just thinking about it made me... But those type of stories that mean something are good. But I'm going to get right back to a sense of humor, because I love a sense of humor in stories too. These stories are hugely important, but I want people to know that we laugh a lot. Everybody should laugh a lot. And my mother does. And she swore that she would never treat her children the way she was treated.
Well, if you go to periodimage.ca and you click on portfolio, you'll end up on Sandra's YouTube channel, and this one is featured there, and it's really powerful. It's incredible filmmaking. So, well done.
Yeah. It's true stories, and they lived it, and it's unbelievably, how they lived.
And over the years, you've had a chance to work with many leaders.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Folks that are putting up totem poles, and in this case, Stephen Point. And what are some memorable projects you've done highlighting some of the leaders in First Nations?
Well, I was going to say, there was one time, and Dana was there, and Gordon Campbell was at the grounds in... And when we left, I was kind of nervous, and I just went, "See you, Gord." And the guys go, "See you, Gord." I don't know what to say to him, right? But anyways, it was just funny. But that is a nice thing too. Like Stephen, for example, I've worked with him so much, and the nice thing is, working with our leaders, I know them as well, right? Like, we've known each other. We've all kind of grown up together around here. So a lot of the leaders, I know them, and they're easy to work with. And I think they get a little more relaxed when they find out it's Bare Image shooting the event, right? Because some people can be pretty structured, right? The very first woman that I ever went and shot with, I just got my equipment, but I didn't know how to use it yet. So she just asked if I could come and be a boom operator with this fella. And oh my God, she was a terrible producer. And I just thought, the thing that I learned from that is I would never do what she did. She had elders waiting in the hot sun, and and I just thought, that's not how I'd run my company. But yeah, I've worked with a lot of leaders, and I am a leader for my own community.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a councillor for Tzeachten, and it's interesting.
What are we seeing here? What are you filming?
Oh, this? Oh, that was, they were building canoes at the Shwe village. And this was one of their, I think, their ocean canoes. But we were following a project right from the getting the tree to, it being hollowed out. This just happened to be some of the other stuff that they had in their in their shop. So I just went in and got a few cutaway shots because they're always fun to get. But it was with Stan Green that we were working with.
Wow.
And I just happened to get some of these shots. Yeah.
And what the heck is this?
Geez. I told everybody, be serious. Always the director, right? But no, that's just at the P&E grounds. They're always fun to do. I don't know if anyone ever does them, but go up there, get your picture taken. It's a lot of fun. They always have a lot of fun with you too, right? So everyone looks so serious. That's great. That's my daughter, Samo. I always work her into working for me too for a sandwich, and that's my niece
sandwiches.
My niece Taylor, and actually her sister Jamie is now working for me, and that's my cousin Colleen and Dana.
So equipment has definitely changed over the years. You've gone from low resolution or just film, in fact, and now cameras are much smaller and cheaper and much higher quality.
Like, definitely. The things that you can do with these cameras is...
What are we looking at here? What kind of camera is that?
That is my new Lumix.
Nice.
Yes,
okay, you went Panasonic.
Yeah, I'm with Panasonic, and that's another thing. My I don't know if you know Dwayne Thornhill, but I've worked with him in Blackwater Media. I'm not even sure if he still calls himself Blackwater Media, but he always goes Panasonic, right? And then I'm also an avid editor,
right.
so I've got Media Composer. He's like, oh, Media Composer, really, right? You know, he'd always bug me. But no, I love the Panasonic products. And another thing that I've always done too is I've tried to buy a lot of stuff local, like Go Audio.
Yeah.
I've worked very closely with them throughout the years, right? As much as I can get local, I like to try and keep it like that, you know?
Nice.
Yeah. But...
And what are we seeing here? What is this project?
These are my getting my framing.
Right. Yeah.
This is Jamie, actually. That's my niece who's working for me now. And Dana's playing a broom. See, the shot turned out just about the same.
And I see you're shooting in 4K at 29.97.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, nice. Well done. So that's a far cry from those first days of lugging that gear.
I tell you, it really is. Yeah. And then I remember even the edits, right? Like you'd still get that little choo-choo, but it's like, whatever. Yeah. We're not getting it out. It's not coming out. Yeah.
This is Bare Image Today.
This is Bare Image Today.
Yeah, you've made it.
I've made it.
What's next on... What's your dream video or film that you want to make?
Something fun, like something that I write and produce that's fun. Just I don't know what it's going to be, but I know it's going to happen because I've started looking and thought, I think I want to do something, but I just don't know what yet. So I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Which I'm probably running out of, but hey.
Well, and you mentioned it, but you've really matured and grown into a leader.
Can you tell other people that? Please.
You've grown into quite a well-known person in Chilliwack. And in fact, this was your beautiful outfit, and you were the co-host of the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce Business Excellence Awards this past January, February.
Yeah.
And you said you were nervous to speak in front of 20 people. That was in front of 600 people.
I know. So. But the lights you can't see, right? Like you can't see them.
And you're a council member on Tzeachten.
Yes.
When did you assume that role?
Actually, the elections are coming up. So it'll be 4 years, April 1st.
Are you seeking re-election?
I probably will. I really do like it.
Are we hearing an official declaration? Is that what we're hearing here?
I'm for the people. Yes. I think I probably will. I will see if I get nominated. Maybe they don't want me anymore.
How has running your own business prepared you for these leadership roles?
A ton. Taking on... I think I was always kind of a leader anyways. I was always bossing everybody around. But I think it's prepared me. Like I often thought about running for council, and then I thought, I don't know if I'm ready. But my cousin asked me. She said, "Do you want to run? Like if I nominate you?" I said, "Well, yeah, okay, I guess." Because I do love people and I like talking to people and, yeah. Oh, if I answered that question.
You did. Let's hear it for Sandra. My goal is to keep these mini interviews tight. I think we went half an hour.
Oh, did we go
So
half an hour?
Cynthia has fallen asleep in the green room.
Yeah.
But if you want to go watch from there, we'll
I'm going to
get
watch
Cynthia
her in the
in.
hot seat. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Oh, thank you.
Our next guest is Cynthia Robinson. Cynthia has a lot of entrepreneurial experience owning many, many different businesses. Her resume is never ending. It's like a scroll. She is a trainer, mentor, and respected leader in the Tzeachten First Nation. Please give a warm Launch Stories welcome to Cynthia Robinson. Thank you.
Hi, Tim. She's a hard act to follow, let's face it. But I think she's gone to the bar. Yeah, she's gone for a drink.
Perfect. So you also grew up in the Chilliwack area.
Yes.
Tell me about your childhood.
Well, I was born in Williams Lake, actually,
Okay.
and I lived there till I was 3, and then we moved back here. And I have a brother and a sister, and my foray into entrepreneurship started when I was 5.
Okay.
So we had a nice big Bing cherry tree, and it was very fruitful. And my sister and I decided we wanted to sell cherries. So we set up outside the Super Value store in Southgate,
Wow.
where they also sold cherries. And astonishingly enough, we didn't get kicked out. The owner let us sell our cherries. Yeah.
So this was your version of the lemonade stand, really?
That was my version of the lemonade stand. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rattle off a few of your businesses, and you can give me a quick synopsis. You operated a spa for some time. Mm-hmm. Tell me about operating a spa.
So started that in Vancouver with a couple of friends of mine. And like Sandra, fortunately, I was able to get a grant for my portion of this startup. It was in 1987, and you're not even going to believe it. It cost us $300,000 to open the doors in 1987. So we literally worked around the clock and to just get it off the ground. And after 2.5 years of working 12-hour days, 7 days a week, we could only bring out about $500 a month, which, back in 87, you might think that was pretty good, but rent for our apartment was $1,800. Yeah, we had a 2-bedroom apartment on Beach Avenue, and my husband and I and a friend lived there, and it was $600 a month each. So anyway, unfortunately, we had a lot of stress and financial stress, and my husband and I broke up, and I ended up sleeping literally in the basement on a mattress on the floor. And not what I planned when I started a business, but anyway, we hired a nutritionist to help our clients get rid of cellulite. And it worked. And I thought, boy, I know some people in Chilliwack that have cellulite. Maybe they could use the products, and maybe I could get out of this basement. And so I started up my Herbalife business, and it absolutely took off. And so for 8 months, I worked both jobs and used the profits to actually get back together with my husband. So we went to marriage counseling and got back together.
Wow.
We've actually been married since we were 7. We met at the rink, fell in love at the rink. Chilliwack Coliseum, when they tore that down, it was like, oh my gosh, there goes my love nest.
And you've run fit camps, you've had a gym, many other health-related businesses. Is this a picture of one of the fit camps?
That's a picture of one of the fit camps. That was at Tzeachten Field. So we decided we wanted to support all our clients and help them with their health and their activity. We didn't do just fit camps outside. We did them indoors as well at Tzeachten Hall. We had like 120 people there in January. Of course, most of them were gone by February.
What's a fit camp?
Exercise together.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a boot camp.
Got it.
Yeah.
And is it weekly or multiple times a week?
We had them 2 times a week, and in the summer, 3 times a week. And then in the winter, indoors, 3 times a week as well.
And
But
was it
COVID kind of shut that down.
aerobics and Zumba and that type of stuff?
I got my group fitness instructor license.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, cool. And throughout the years, you said your specialization was really in customer acquisition, just the ability to do sales and generate customers and...
Yes, but behind that, like with every entrepreneur, your why is the most important thing that's going to get you out of bed in the morning. And I started in Herbalife because I met a man that had had a heart attack, and he survived and got his cholesterol down. And my dad died when I was 15 of a heart attack, and he was only 36. So one of the reasons I got into Herbalife is I thought if I could help 6 men not die of a heart attack, it'll be worth a lifetime worth of work.
So what is Herbalife?
Herbalife's a health and nutrition company.
Okay.
And specializing in supplements and all kinds of other things. But and what's different probably is that we coach each person individually. So that's one arm of it. The other arm of it is helping customers who want to also do the business, just like I did, become coaches and set up their own businesses as well.
Got it.
So I spend probably 50-50, 50% of the time with my own clients and 50% of my time helping people.
And so
set
you
up their business.
essentially are your own business.
Yes.
And then you're recruiting others.
That have their own business.
Got it.
And I can't succeed unless they succeed. It's a great model.
And you've worked in Canada, the U.S., Europe.
I've got business in about 7 countries, I guess, and did training for Herbalife around the world, which was really fun, seeing the world. But actually, Stuart and I traveled around the world when we were in our 20s, and I was his impresario. I was his agent.
Okay.
He's a pianist, professional pianist. So in order to, pay my keep, I'd get him a job, and, they'd feed us and put us up, and he'd play the piano. It was great.
Wow. So you must have traveled many, many countries.
Yeah, we went all over Southeast Asia and Australia, New Zealand, and then lived in Europe for a few years. Yeah.
Amazing. Here's a fun picture. What is this?
This
like
is a training.
Seminar or
it's a training. It's a seminar in our little office on the res.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'd have those like one maybe once a week or a big one every month. But again, COVID shut everything down. Yeah, I kind of switched gears after COVID.
Got it.
Or during COVID. Everything went online.
And all of the pictures you sent are extremely healthy, active pictures. It looks like that's a core belief. And really,
in Herbalife is healthy, active lifestyle. Yeah. This is the Hike Up the Chief that Angela Painter does every year, and to raise money for Chilliwack Search and Rescue.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll be doing that again this year.
And with all of your entrepreneurial experience, you have now turned a lot of your activity on mentoring, coaching, and I know you do some stuff with Stalo Community Futures. I grabbed a couple screen grabs of recent events. This one was a Indigenous Financial Resilience workshop a couple weeks ago, I guess. Tell me about that.
So yeah, Rocio and the team, it's actually Shannon and I that do that one together, and it's amazing. It's life-changing for the participants and for us too. It's a beautiful way to actually help Indigenous people address their struggles with finances and money. And what the outcome usually is that they realize, it's not my fault. They realize that it's impacts of colonialism that has created this poverty mindset and poverty in general.
So in essence, it's financial literacy and financial education and coaching and mentoring. And I see you've got a credit union involved, Van City.
Yes.
What's their role?
They partnered with Stolo Community Futures, and they created the program.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Tell me a good news story that's come out of some of these types of things. Have you seen transformation in people?
Yeah, one of our girls actually from our community. I'm from Tzeachten as well, and she posted it actually on Facebook, I think it was. Yeah, it was posted under one of the events. She said, this has been so great. I've been able to pay off 2 loans and changed my phone plan to where our phone plan was reduced by 50%. And I don't go out and eat anymore. I think about what I can eat at home. And when I want to go to the movies, I just turn on Netflix and make my own popcorn. Basically, that in a nutshell. Yeah.
Changing lives.
Changing lives.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Another one is a small business startup boot camp, essentially. What's involved in this program?
That's another Van City. They created it, and I facilitate it. And it's fun. It's entrepreneurs that either have an idea or maybe they're already in business, just starting out, and it just helps them to get on track and lead them to Shannon to do their cash flow and their business plans.
How many people attend these?
Well, this particular one, the last one, there was 12 altogether, but there's more people. There was more people who were supposed to come, so I imagine the next one is going to be more. We've got to get a bigger venue.
Nice. Well, and with that size, you can really spend one-on-one time and have an impact and teach. And
Yes.
Sounds amazing. So these are recurring. How often do you do these types of things?
We did a total of 7 of the wealth mindset, what we like to call Indigenous financial resilience. And this year we just started this one, but I don't know how many we're going to do next year. Probably a lot more. Yeah. And then I'm also working with CAPU in their Indigenous Digital Accelerator program and just writing the curriculum for the incubator program and mentoring a bunch of other entrepreneurs there too. So that all came about because I went back to school when I was 61 and got my MBA.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was from SFU.
From SFU, yeah. Oh, I had to learn to read and write again. I mean, when you haven't been to school for 40 years, it's, oh my gosh.
And that was a tailored program, from what I understand, a Master of Business Administration degree. I'm reading. It says...
Indigenous business leadership.
Right.
Yes. So the course, the curriculum is all Indigenous based, so it's through an Indigenous lens. When I went, there were probably only 50% Indigenous instructors, but now they're up to 70% Indigenous instructors, so the capacity is being built and lives are being changed. And all the alumni is just so exciting to see what they're doing. And I was thinking during COVID that maybe I'll dial back a little bit and maybe I'm going to retire.
So much for slowing down in your 60s.
Yeah, no, it's not happening.
And you also serve on a number of boards, one of them being the Chilliwack Cultural Center.
Yes.
And in that scenario, you are the lead in Indigenous relations. Tell me about that.
Well, when I got recruited for the board, they didn't have anyone Indigenous on the board. And their goal is to, of course, have some Indigenous engagement. So that's been very interesting. I interviewed a lot of the chiefs and leaders in the community to kind of find out why they aren't at the cultural center. And so we're just beginning. Part of truth and reconciliation and real true reconciliation is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It takes time. And so we're just starting to develop relationships with different Indigenous leaders. And Derek, my nephew, is going to be opening the fall program this year, and we'll have drumming, and not sure if we'll have dancing, but we'll have drumming and singing, and it's going to be amazing. It's a good start, and we have a lot of ideas. One thing that's happening, it's not Carrie Lynn Victor, I don't think, or maybe it is. We got a grant so that when you come into the cultural center now, it's all going to be Indigenous art. And there's going to be, the whole thing is going to start being way more indigenized. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong. From an outside perspective, it does seem like there's been a tremendous stride between the city of Chilliwack and the surrounding First Nations. It seems like a lot of good work is being done. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's interesting. I did ask one of the board members on the Chilliwack Cultural Center. It represents the city of Chilliwack. And I did ask if they have a TRC statement, and they don't. So they don't have a plan right now to engage. It's just kind of happening organically. And I have to say again, Dave, Jimmy, and Derek Epp, they have been very instrumental in that because they're very involved with the chamber and very involved with businesses, and just those guys are, and they're standing on the shoulders of other great leaders, obviously.
And you're involved in Tzeachten, your First Nation, and specifically in the land management program.
So in 2007, we started our to manage our own lands, or we started the framework for that. And that was when Chief Joe Hall was at the helm. And so we put together the framework for that, and we have land code now. So we've been managing our own lands since 2008. And so I'm the chair of that committee, and Sandra's on that committee as well. And we have a lot of fun as well, probably because Sandra's on it. And we've seen such tremendous growth in own source revenue. As everyone knows, if you drive down Promontory Road, that's mostly all certificate of possession land. It's not band-owned land, except where the cemetery is. All that is owned by 3 different communities. It was a part of a repatriation of land from the old gun range in the Army. So yeah, it's creating a lot of taxation and revenue streams so that, the ultimate goal is to have all our own source revenue so we can get out from under the Indian Act.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
I live off of Keith Wilson and drive by GW Graham almost every day, and it's amazing to see the development happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been a challenge. And we've all had to grow through that, a lot of growing pains, because none of us were urban planners. So we made a lot of mistakes, but we're correcting some of those mistakes too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. We're going to bring Sandra back, but let's first of all hear it. Sandra, do you hear me?
There she finished her drink.
I was going to try and run away.
We're going to give her a breathalyzer right now.
Oh, no, don't do that. Actually, you could get drunk off my blood, but anyways.
I want to talk about Indigenous entrepreneurship. We've touched on it with your own amazing stories that have brought you here, but I don't really have a formal plan for this other than to ask you, what do you feel from an Indigenous perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges for startup businesses?
You go first.
The funny thing is, when I decided to start my own business, there really wasn't trying to find out writing a proposal for one thing, right? But again, I had help, right? That's what it takes. You just got to find, where you can get help, because there's no way that I could have done it on my own. I remember looking at this thing saying, okay, fill out this proposal to get some funding. So I remember sitting in the sun, and I'd done all these papers. I got them, and I go, oh, my name. Okay. And then it started going all these other things. I'm going, I don't know. And then I'm going, okay, I'm going to need some help with this, obviously. I thought it was going to be just an easy thing to do, to apply for money. And it isn't. You need help. And that's the one thing that you have to do. You have to try and get help if you want to start a business of your own. You can't just do it on your own. Right? Yeah.
I mean, I guess with the spa, I did the same thing and had to get help filling out the documentation. But when I started my Herbalife business, it was like bootstrapping. It was like, put it on American Express and pray that everything turns out. Because I was at a pretty desperate point at that time. But I think in general, for Indigenous entrepreneurs today, capacity is one of the biggest challenges and a barrier to finances. But thanks to Stolo Community Futures, they're there to support, especially in this area. And then the other barrier would probably be, what other barriers are there?
Again, just trying to think of any other challenges that I had when I first started. I mean, again, I don't know. I
think a lot of entrepreneurs might have to deal with the what is perceived to be the long hours and the challenges. But as an entrepreneur, you don't really see it that way. It's like, who cares about the hours? We love what we're doing.
You know, in the beginning, though, that is right. Like, I was like, I mean, you know, my husband can attribute to this. I was like just basically taking a little nap, and then I'd get up and finish editing because I wanted to make sure the project got there on time and everything, right? Yeah, like the challenges to me were. I'm still trying to think of some challenges that I had, because I know it wasn't easy in the beginning. Well, they always said that eventually you will run your own business. Because in the beginning, it was running me. Like, I was trying to keep up with, you know, time crunches and all this other stuff. And I thought, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this? And then that's when I had to ask people to come in and help. But then I have to teach them. I have to instruct them. I have to show them. So that's going to take more time. You know, so those can be quite challenging if you need the help. But
yeah, I think operations and systems are not, they don't come naturally to entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs, we want to do everything ourselves, right? We think we can do everything ourselves. But then there comes a time, like, I don't know about you, but, you know, along come the babies. And that was the point when I recruited my husband. And he's amazing. Like, I should bottle him and sell him. Anyway, I was doing the Blue Ledger books. And it was like, second baby came along, and it's like, can you help me? Do you think I can teach you how to do the books? And so he started taking over all of the accounting. So now, I don't know what would happen if anything happened to him. Oh, I'd be up a creek without a paddle.
You know, and when it came to what I had to do, I did have to teach myself how to work the equipment, because I didn't have any instructors anymore. So I had to, like I say, delve into whatever I learned in the past and work with that. And then from that, I instructed others. But you know, the funny thing is, in my industry, and you probably know, you're still learning something every single day, and you'll find another faster way to edit. Like, it's even funny to watch my niece Jamie now, and she's like editing now on. I have an edit suite for her, and when she's editing and she's going to show me something, I go, oh yeah, okay, maybe you should do this, and I'm like, oh, wow, she's fast. My mind doesn't work that quickly, right? So, you know, so yes, the young minds, it's nice to have that, for sure.
Do you
They have
think
to pivot. If you do a lot of pivoting.
Do you think there's particular opportunities that are better or more likely to be successful? I know there's a lot of successful Indigenous tourism these days. Cultural exploration is more pronounced, I would say, now, or is it just across the board businesses are being started?
I don't know. I think with TRC and MMIW and Orange Shirt Day, and there's a lot of recognition in Canada now of what's happened to Indigenous people, and there's a lot more empathy and compassion and people wanting to support Indigenous businesses, and especially on Instagram and Facebook. And what I see anyway from working with the entrepreneurs that I work with, it's beading, cultural ceremonial gear, and just anything made off the land, which is, you know, it's just honoring Mother Earth. Yeah. And tourism, obviously, as well. But just like, if you think about Alberta, huge opportunity there in oil and gas and procurement. Huge opportunity if someone wanted to, you know, move to Alberta. Who would want to do that when you're from BC?
I was living in Alberta.
That's right.
40 below,
You touched on it a little bit as both a challenge and an opportunity, but resources and funding. And we've mentioned Stalo Community Futures. That seems to be a real epicenter for help and guidance and mentoring. Tell me about that organization.
Well, I mean, I've been working with Stalo Community Futures a lot, and I don't know why I keep getting distracted, but with Stalo Community Futures, they've always been there to help. And I know even during the COVID, the wild thing with COVID was all of a sudden this COVID hit and, the world stops. And I had just bought my new equipment. And I'm going, and at that time I didn't have a lot of projects on the go. So it was really hard. But Stalo Community Futures actually propped us up and said, we do have some extra funding for you to just help. And then also with my loan and stuff. It was great, at that time. But Stalo Community Futures has always been there for us. And I was really surprised when they told us there's I think at that time there was 250 Indigenous businesses in this area. And I never, I would have never even thought that. Yes, so that was very interesting to learn as well. But I know you're working with Stalo.
I'm working with
Futures right now.
Stalo Futures right now.
Big opportunity for you.
Yeah, what support?
Yes.
I mean, just all the way around. I'm so accustomed to when I'm doing hosting a workshop or something like that. It's all on me. But Bridget is fantastic. She does all that beautiful. What's it called? Graphic design. All that beautiful graphic design work and handling the registrations and everything. And Shannon's a whiz on with all the technology, and Rocio's keeping all the, all the cats, trying to herd the cats around. She's really good at herding cats. And just the support that they have for other entrepreneurs in the area is just outstanding. And I remember going to my first, I think it was it Lunch and Learn, or was it Sip, like a wine and cheese kind of thing at night? Those were great as well. This is before COVID. Yeah. Just supporting, they really help entrepreneurs. They support them, but they encourage other entrepreneurs to support entrepreneurs as well.
And they follow up too.
It's not
like they just start you off and be gone. I mean, I've been in business for 21 years and I'm still working with Stalo Community Futures today. So it's not like some an entity that all of a sudden they get you started and then they go, see ya.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and judging by the website, it's not just help and pointing you in the right direction. There's actual funding. Mm-hmm. They have microloans up to $10,000, investment loans up to $150,000, and even up to $500,000 available for enterprises, and helping you with the business plan and putting all the pieces to make you with the highest success rate of success, right?
Yeah,
or the
definitely.
highest possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's fantastic. I see that there's a hashtag StoloBiz with a model who's in the audience.
She's in the room.
She is.
We have a supermodel in the room.
Well, I like to keep these to about an hour, and we'll have time for Q&A, but let's hear it for our special guests today, Sandra and Cynthia.
Way to go.
Tony, we do have a mic right on that shelf there, and there's a tiny little red
oh my goodness,
power
don't
button.
give them a mic, please.
And the mic is primarily, we'll be able to hear you, but it's to make sure that we can record it. And so if we do have questions, raise your hand, and we've recruited a mic runner.
Oh, Mike.
Anybody?
Oh.
Colin's always good for the first question, gets us rolling.
Thanks so much for being here today and sharing your stories. It's very inspiring. Speaking of inspiring, as we look forward to new entrepreneurs who are considering where to go in today's world, I want to just go back to that opportunities question. And if you had to start over and start a new business today, what industry, let's not be too specific, just what industry do you think entrepreneurs should be looking at with an Indigenous perspective?
Oh.
Culture. Language.
I still think the industry that I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it is, because it's the way of the future. Like when you look at COVID, for example, I thought for sure this is it. My business is going to go under. I'm done. But then people started Zoom and they started things on social media, and it's like right away, oh, boom, I can go on social media. I've already got this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the industry that I'm in is a pretty darn, and Tim can say, I mean, I remember Tim's small beginnings in here. So it's like, he's built this into an empire. It's awesome in here. So it's something I always dreamed of. Tim, you're my dream. But anyways, no, like to me, I think still I would go for this industry.
And I would go.
theater.
I would go for the same industry too. Like I love like health and nutrition. Health. I mean, it is the future as well. Yeah. You know, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health, what's it worth, right? And I think that as an entrepreneur, you know, my journey that I've been on has brought me here today. So I wouldn't trade any of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Sandra, you can probably relate, but about 3-4 years ago, when you saw people holding their phone vertically, as a filmmaker, you're like, horizontal. And now the whole world is shifted.
It is funny, yes. I don't like editing other people's stuff.
Any other questions?
Good, I think they're going to let us off the hint.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of talk about business and launching, but like what's happening in the sort of like grade 9 to 12, you know, getting the youth and like sort of educating and making them aware there so that when if they're ready then or when they graduate from university, that they have some prep with that. How's that going or what's happening there?
Oh, I wish there was an entrepreneurship class and in high schools and Indigenous financial resilience in high schools. But
yeah.
yeah, that too.
Well, I imagine with 250 plus Indigenous businesses, there are a lot of role models and a lot of people and potential mentors and folks that can guide and.
Well, and that is one thing that my company has done too. We also will have students come and work with us, and I always feel hands-on has always been the best way to learn anything because it's just, you know, it's just the best way to learn.
And some of the entrepreneurs that I work with, they hire high school students to work with them because they want to equip and build capacity in the Indigenous and the up and coming in that market that's the fastest growing demographic in Canada today, the Indigenous youth.
You're just so smart.
I've just read the books.
Did you study before you came on here?
Is that MBA?
I didn't study. I never studied.
Well, let's hear it once again for Cynthia and Sandra.
Okay. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.